Scenic Hotel Group, a place to stay no matter your staycation. From the Legacy Collection, Scenic Hotels, Suites and Resorts, and Heartland Hotels. Find your place to stay at scenichotelgroup.co.nz.
Let's talk some cricket. The One Day International World Cup, this is the 50 over World Cup for men, comes up at the back end of this year in India. New Zealand are currently in India, of course. As I mentioned, they had a victory in the first T20 this morning, but they have just completed a 3-match 50 over series, which they lost 3-0. That off the back of a 2-1 series win in 50 over matches in Pakistan. A 15-man squad can be chosen for the World Cup, which I would love to get your thoughts on. For starters, should this guy be there?
Oh, wow-wee. Stop it, Finn Allen. How well has he got it? That's the question. Not sure why I asked the question. Oh, the 50's up, but add another 6 to the score. That is almost onto the road. Oh, it doesn't matter. Let's just turn our hands around, play left-handed and bang it on the bank. What can this man not do? This time, straight down the ground. Wow, just stand and deliver and admire.
Yeah, the power hitting of Finn Allen. He's currently in that opening spot, but would you consider a recall for this guy?
198. Here is the delivery. Martin Guptill drives down the ground. 4 more. Stand up, New Zealand. Stand up, the world. 203 not out, Martin Guptill. Just glorious. The start of the 50. This could be on the roof. It's enormous. It is on the roof.
Now they've got to push for 2. Who's going to cover the keeper's stumps? They're going to go. Got to get him. Director! Is this the World Cup? It's Martin Guptill. Is this the final?
Thanks for reminding us of 2019, Andy, but thanks for not doing the barest of margins. Let's bring in former Black Caps batsman and former New Zealand batting coach, now cricket commentator and analyst, Craig McMillan. Craig, thanks for joining us across New Zealand on News Talk ZB. Let's start at the top of the order. In the last 6 one-day internationals, Finn Allen has scored 29, 1, 25, 40, 0 and 0. Would you persevere with Finn Allen at the top of the order in 50 over cricket?
Yeah, I would. I mean, they're numbers that need to improve, and I think it's one of those things that the more experience he gets, the better equipped he's going to be at that World Cup. So, yeah, I think there was issues over perhaps the whole top 5 in terms of perhaps not getting the runs that they needed, but they would have learnt a lot from that one-day series in India. And while the results weren't what we wanted, or the New Zealand team would have wanted, that experience should hold them in good stead moving forward towards that World Cup.
Should Finn Allen play the same way in 50 over cricket as he does so spectacularly well in T20?
No, there has to be some adjustments because, you know, there's a difference between 20 over and 50 over cricket. So the risk tempo that you go at in T20 is a lot higher than what you do in 50 over cricket. And I think he's still finding that out. Piney, look, he's still an inexperienced player, even at the domestic level to a degree. So he's having to learn his trade, apply his trade at the top and at the international level, and that's difficult at times. But what we've seen with Finn Allen is that he does have an X factor about him. He has the ability to win games. He can take good bowlers on and put them under pressure, and I think that's what Gary said and Kane Williamson want at the top of the order. They want someone that can throw some questions to the opposition bowling attack. So he has to be persevered with. You don't give him this run, and it's only been 12 to 18 months, and then say, no, you're not for us. You continue on with him. We saw what he did against Australia in the T20 World Cup, but there are some slight adjustments he needs to make in terms of his risk tempo at the top of the order in 50 over cricket. And I think he's trying to work through that. He played a nice innings against the West Indies over the winter where he got 90 odd, a run a ball, and it felt slow for him in tough conditions. But he has that ability. He's still learning, but he's going to be a dominant New Zealand player for years to come.
All right, so we leave him there with Devon Conway, obviously, who's a lock in the other opening position. And then if you look at the best top 6, Macca, are we Williamson, Mitchell, Latham, Phillips? Is that kind of almost locked in?
Yeah, it is. For me, that's you can throw Michael Bracewell in at 7, Piney. So that's, to me, that is the top 7 that will be playing at the World Cup. I guess the only question mark is perhaps on Mitchell and Phillips and whether they swap in those positions 4 to 6. But I personally prefer Daryl Mitchell at 4 and Glenn Phillips at 6, because 6 is such a crucial position in terms of finishing, chasing, winning a game of 50 over cricket. And Glenn Phillips has done it time and time again in T20 cricket, and will bring that experience from his exploits in T20 cricket through to the 50 over game. And we saw in this one day series too that there's going to be big scores. You're going to have to score 300 plus. You're going to be chasing 350 to win some games against the good teams. India set the bar high, but that is the standard you're going to have to be at if you're going to want to win this World Cup. So I think there was perhaps a lot of things thrown at this New Zealand team, but that top 7 to me says if they're in form and playing well, there's power, there's smartness with Williamson and Latham. Latham didn't get a run all series, so one of your best one-day players didn't really factor. So you bring Kane back in that number 3 slot, and that top 7 looks stable. It looks powerful. Just got to make sure that they're in form and performing at that time at that World Cup, and they could be a very dangerous side.
You mentioned Michael Bracewell there, and I totally agree. That number 7 spot looks to be his now. It's crazy, isn't it? 12, 14 months ago, if we talked about Michael Bracewell, he wasn't playing any international cricket. Now he's in all 3 sides, isn't he?
Yeah, he's impressive, isn't he? And you got to say the same for Daryl Mitchell. Both those players probably went away to that tour of England over the winter as fringe players, got opportunities through injury and other circumstances, and really grabbed those opportunities with both hands. So if I look at that New Zealand batting lineup, Piney, when you've got Phillips at 6, Phillips at 6, Bracewell at 7, and Santner at 8, to me that is the power you need to win games when you're chasing 350 plus, which is going to happen at the World Cup. So Bracewell's a key. He's shown that already in his short international career, that he can hit the ball a long way and doesn't mind chasing big totals down.
And provides you something with the ball as well as a spinning all-rounder. You mentioned Santner, so there's 2 spinners. There are 3 bowling spots left if Santner's at 8. Would they all be seamers, Macca, or might they consider 3 spinners in an ODI in India?
It's a good question. Well, you've got Glenn Phillips who provides some off-spin as well. So to me, he would be perhaps your 3rd spinner. I think you play the 3 seamers. The question mark is over the 3 seamers. I think Ferguson and Henry are lock-ins in that New Zealand one-day side. And then you've got the likes of Jameson and Southey perhaps that 3rd seamer spot. And that would be the discussion, I think, that the coaching staff and the captain will have as to the balance of the side. But when those players come back, because Jameson makes a big difference as well, it wasn't New Zealand's strongest side. That doesn't mean that the performances shouldn't have been better. They should have. But I think there's a lot to look forward to. Once we get our full-strength side back on the park, everyone fit and full of confidence and playing well, then this New Zealand side, and let's face it, they're a good tournament team, Piney. They've done well at recent World Cups, whether it be T20, 50 over cricket. New Zealand know how to play at World Cups. So I have a lot of confidence in this side. I think it's perhaps the end of an era for a number of these players. It could well be their final World Cup. So I think it's an exciting one to look forward to.
What's your gut feel on whether or not they'll pick Trent Boult in the 15?
My gut feeling is they won't. My gut feeling is that Trent Boult's made his decision. He's moved away from international cricket, and he's doing the franchise thing, which fair play to him. He's earned that right. He's been a great servant for New Zealand cricket over a long period of time. But once you throw Matt Henry, Tim Southey, Kyle Jameson back in that New Zealand side, I don't see the need for a Trent Boult, and I think he would be off the pace anyway. He wouldn't have played international cricket for close to 9 or 10 months. He would have been playing franchise cricket, which is a number of steps down from that international level. So let's face it, Trent Boult wasn't the saviour at the 2019 World Cup. And so I don't think there's any need to think that he's going to be the saviour at the 2023 World Cup. So I think there's plenty of depth with those other bowlers, and I think that's the way that the New Zealand selectors will go.
So do you think we might have seen the last of Trent Boult in any form of international cricket for New Zealand?
Yeah, I think there's a good possibility that that's the case. Obviously, a lot of the franchise cricket he's playing at the moment coincides with international cricket. You're not going to bring him back for one game here or one game there. So I think it's fair to say that, Trent Boult made his decision, has stepped away while I think he said that he's still available. I think the reality is that his New Zealand days are over. What
about Jimmy Neesham, Macca? Is he in a similar position, or is there a potential spot for him in this World Cup squad or in a white ball squad for New Zealand?
Well, I think they've probably moved away. Jimmy Neesham's done something similar to Trent Boult. He's decided to go and play franchise cricket. I think that's why the likes of Henry Shipley were given opportunities in India, because he's perhaps the next up-and-coming all-rounder. Look, with Neesham's experience in that, he might be a squad member. I don't see him being a starting player in terms of that New Zealand's best 11 for conditions in India. He might be a squad member. But I haven't really seen him do too much in franchise cricket in recent times. So he's another one that's probably, moved away, in a different direction to international cricket, and is probably quite happy to do so.
And I'm not suggesting he's going to be in this squad, but Rachin Ravindra greatly interests me, partly because he's from Wellington and so am I, and you've seen him around the Super Smash, obviously, across the summer. He's played some international cricket. What is the international cricketing future of Rachin Ravindra for you?
Well, I think he's going to be an important player, especially on Asian tours. He offers a multi-skill ability in terms of left-arm spinner, work with the bat. I think it's still a work on. He's been exposed to international cricket probably earlier than what he should have, but he got a wee taste of it, and it showed a couple of flaws, especially in his batting game, where he's still a youngster learning his game. So I think this season is important for him. He's done well in the Super Smash. I'd like to see him tune out the runs for Wellington at Plunkett Shield level, and whether that's in that opening role or the top 3 or 4, I think that's roughly where he's going to bat domestically. And so he's still got some work-ons in terms of the balls around off stump, what to play, what to leave. Once you hit that international level, you get a lot less bad deliveries to attack, to go after, and I think he found that difficult, that there wasn't as many scoring opportunities for him. He made some mistakes, but he's certainly got the talent, and I think he's going to play a lot for New Zealand in coming years. So I think the season's a big one for him domestically. I'd like to see him dominate. He's done well so far, as we mentioned, in the Super Smash, but he needs to do it in all 3 formats, the 50 over and also Plunkett Shield as well.
All right, and just to finish, we're not that far away from the England Test team arriving here for 2 Test matches, day-night Test in Mount Maunganui and one at the Basin Reserve as well, playing a wonderful brand of Test cricket at the moment, of course, under Brendan McCullum. Does the New Zealand Test side, Craig, to you feel equipped to deal with the challenge that England will present?
Well, their record at home over the last 5-6 years says yes. New Zealand's got a very good track record at home in our conditions. But this England side are going to perhaps present a few different challenges that New Zealand, they got a taste of it over the winter, actually, over in England in the 3 Test match series there, which was a close series, could have gone either way, but in the end, England were too strong. So they've had a wee taste of what they're likely to come up against. New Zealand conditions will be different. There's so many different storylines. Like you mentioned, Brendan McCullum has made quite an impact on this England Test side. It will be interesting to see how New Zealand go. I hope they don't get suckered into trying to play England style, because that works for England. They have the players that can play that style. That's fine. But New Zealand have been very successful. Remember, World Test champions a couple of seasons ago, through doing the things that they do well in New Zealand conditions. So it's going to be a fascinating series for me. I really look forward to it, and I think it's going to be a close one.
Always enjoyed talking cricket with you, Craig. Thanks so much for taking the time.
My pleasure, Piney. Cheers, mate.